One of the things I like to do when I have the opportunity is I like to walk my client around to their property corners when I'm doing a boundary survey and show them what we found or what we've set. I really enjoy that. I don't get to do it all the time, but I get to do it a lot. And so I want to just tell you a couple examples, recent examples of when I was able to do that. And then I want to explain why I think it's important. So I had a survey out in Discovery Bay, California, out in the Delta. I had a neighbor that was involved in a boundary dispute, a landowner that was involved in a boundary dispute with one of her neighbors. Things were tense. You know, the sheriff had been called. Everybody was getting a lawyer. It was getting pretty intense. And this particular client, she had some. Her family had owned the property in the area. You know, had been a landowner in the area for 100 years, so she had a lot of historical knowledge about when parcels were created and how things were sold. She had a very specific idea of where she thought her property corners were. And we got out on the ground, and I did, after, you know, a couple hours worth of work, I realized that, you know, these property lines probably are not where this lady thinks they are, and she's going to be surprised. And so, and in this particular case, we'd actually found some of the monuments that noted the location of the property lines, which was good. It made my job easier. So, but I knew this would potentially be upsetting for her, and I know she was going to have a lot of questions. So before I left for the day, I took her and we physically walked to every one of her property corners, and there were I don't know, there were six or eight. I can't remember the exact number, but we went to each corner. I told her what we found. I showed it to her. I explained how it got there. And I explained how the monument was related to her property line. And she had lots of questions, and she was surprised by a couple of the corners. And I don't know, I spent an hour with her probably just walking around the property and showing her the corners and answering those questions. Had another situation with another landowner. She was having a boundary dispute with a neighbor. The fences were nowhere near where the actual property lines were. And again, you know, had this gal, she was very emotionally invested and interested in what my survey was going to show. Again, you know, I probably found the property line not where she expected it to be. And so one of the things I did, took her and her husband, and actually I brought the whole family out, kids were there too, and I walked her down the line that was in dispute, showed her the corners that we had found, some corners that had been set by the surveyor that was working for the neighbor, explained why I thought those were actually in the right location, answered her questions. You know, we talked a little bit about why the fence wasn't where she thought it was in relation to the property line. So why would I do that? You know, why would I take the time to do that? I want to explain why, because I think it's important. I think it's an important lesson for younger boundary surveyors to learn, and I also want to tell, you know, people that are watching this video that might be looking for a boundary surveyor, you know, you want to find the kind of surveyor that's going to do this with you, right? If he's too busy, he or she is too busy to take the time to do what I'm talking about, then you need to find somebody else, because I think surveyors have a professional responsibility to do this. So why would I do it? There's three reasons I'm going to give you. Number one, it's what my client needs. You know, and you get in these situations where there's a boundary dispute, where people don't think, you know, the property line's not where people think it is. You know, people are funny about their property. You know, our property is important to us. We get emotionally attached to it. And so, you know, the client needs reassurance of a couple things. They need to understand that I'm listening to them, right? I'm listening to you. You tell me where you think the property line is. Tell me why. I want to hear that, right? I want to, you know, so part of it is just to let them know that I'm listening to what they have to say. Part of it's my way of telling them I understand why you're upset. I think this is a bad situation that you're in here with this boundary dispute. I understand that you're having problems with the neighbor. I understand that you're upset. This is not what anybody wants, right? So that's part of it too. And then the other thing is I want them to understand that, hey, I'm not only am I listening, but I'm considering your input in my ultimate solution. You know, if you have some history about a particular property corner or why a fence got put where it got put, I need to know that, right? If you have history about the way land has been used. I need to know that. All those things are important to me as a boundary surveyor when I'm doing my boundary resolution. So, if you don't take the time to listen and you don't actually walk the client around that property, you're not going to get all that information. So that's important. So it's what my client needs me to do. That's the first reason it's important. The second reason is it's part of my job. I put the boots my boots go on the ground on every boundary survey we do, something I take pride in. That's my way to make sure that I've evaluated all of the evidence that's available. Like I said, I just mentioned, if I'm not there on the ground having that conversation with the client, I might miss some really important evidence that I need to consider. And it's also, boundary surveyors have a responsibility to be good communicators, both with their clients and with the neighbors. And so getting out on the ground with my client and having that conversation with them as we walk around the property is part of the way I try and be a good communicator. And I'm more than willing to walk the neighbor's property too. If there's a boundary dispute, I'm more than happy to talk to the neighbor, hear the neighbor's side of the story, get their take on where the property should be or why the fence is where it's at. I want all that information. It's really important. And then the last reason I think that it's important to do for me is it makes me happy. I love being out on the ground. I love being able to do my field work. I didn't get to do that at big companies. At some of the big companies I've worked for, I really enjoy it. And I love being able to help people. So sometimes part of what I do when I'm walking around the property with the landowners, I'm telling them, it's going to be okay. We're going to get this figured out. I'm going to help you fix it, right? And when I leave, things are going to be sorted, right? And you're going to be hopefully back on good terms with your neighbors. This potential problem is going to be eliminated, right? That's something we work hard to do. We don't just find problems and walk away, right? If the client allows us, we try and get that problem fixed. And so some of it is just me reassuring people that we're gonna make this better and that they don't have to stress. We're gonna get it taken care of. And you'd be amazed at how relieved people get, and they're so grateful and they're so thankful. And I've been surprised this last year owning my own company at how much satisfaction I get out of being able to help people like that. I thank my wife for that. Monique, she's been a good influence on me. I'm not naturally a people person, but she's helped me become more of a people person, and it really makes me feel good when I have I had a client call me and tell me, I'm so relieved to know that I'm not doing this alone, that you're here with me to help me get this sorted out, and I trust you, and I know that you're going to make sure that I'm taken care of. And that makes me feel good. It makes my partner Danny feel good. We enjoy being able to do that. So there's really good reasons if you're a boundary surveyor to get on the ground with your crew, walk that site, talk to your property corner, talk to your landowner about the property corners, about the fences, about the way the land has been used, about the history in the area. If they know it, take time, walk them around, show them what you found, show them what you set to mark their corners. Make sure they understand that before you leave the site. And for me personally, I won't work for a client that doesn't want me to be on the ground, right? If they're worried about my time as the land surveyor being on the ground, if they don't want to pay for that, then they're not a good client for me, right? I want to work for clients that value the fact that I'm going to get out from behind my desk and go out there and actually look at the property, have a conversation with them, and listen to what they have to say.